Borderline personality disorder has been a big part of my life. It has so many components to it: catastrophizing, narcissism, perfectionism, all these different things. I just want to talk about it from my experience, specifically because I want to not make 100 videos on it. I probably could sit here and make a gazillion videos on it. I want to talk about what I went through and how it affected me. My mother had all four types of borderline personality disorder. She was a waif, she was a witch, borderline queen, and the hermit. All four. And when you have all four, you then move into this thing called Median borderline. That is what my mother's classified as. At least that's what, she's never been to therapy or done anything, which is okay, like whatever, but that's her life choice. But in the therapeutic world, that's what she'd be classified as. And how that has affected me has been tremendous, because each one of those borderline personalities came out in different ways. I'm going to just take them one at a time. The borderline queen is my mother's always right 100% of the time. Doesn't matter if she's wrong, she's right. Doesn't matter if she says that the sky is orange, she's right 100% of the time. And there's a previous video on my channel where I'm talking about the court thing that she went through and everything like that. Still to this day, she's right. 100%. She's not wrong. She's right. And so that can cause huge problems in relationships, because borderline queens also have this incredible tendency to just cut people out as if they don't exist. Just you're gone. You don't exist anymore. And I saw that happen multiple times with relationships that my parents had, that my mother had over the course of her life. You don't exist anymore. That's what the borderline queen is exceptional at. They are really, really good at, if they're offended or they're angry about something, instead of solving it, they just act like you don't exist anymore. The other component is the borderline waif. My mother is a big borderline waif, like where she would withdraw. There's a withdrawing that would happen. And I had both of these things too, where I had the cut out of my life. You don't exist anymore. I can be that person. I don't like being that person, but I have been that person in my life before. With the waif, it's a withdrawing. I'm weak, I'm frail, I'm fragile. And she definitely had that and gave that to me as well. Like, I have these times in my life where I withdraw for periods of time, which is really strange. And I never understood it until I had deeper understanding and wisdom on the abuse I went through as a kid at the hands of other people. That, like, there's this withdrawing away. There's this hiding part of me that just wants to withdraw and hide and not connect to the world. And that still affected me until this last week, where I literally, after this event that I go to, I called up one of my closest friends on the leadership team, and he goes, "Is everything all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, everything's all right." He's like, "You don't normally call me after a boot camp. I don't usually talk to you for a month and a half, 2 months." I'm like, "I know. Here's what happened." And I explained to him what actually happened, but that part of me, that thing had even been until 7 days ago, that wave thing where I'd be in covenant relationship with the people and then I pull back. Then I'd be in relationship and pull back. I'm finally excited to note that I believe I've cleaned that up, where now at even at a higher level, I can just be myself and be in relationship. But there's this huge pulling back where it's like, so you just talk to somebody and then the next day they just don't talk to you for 3 months. Like, that's the type of stuff that I would do. Then you get into the borderline hermit. Borderline hermit is really, really focused on never leaving their house, being in their own home, and being surrounded by their stuff. I think that for me, that's looked like hoarding. I mean, I look at all the stuff that's around the studio. I got so much stuff that I've purchased over the years, and I've convinced myself that I'm going to use it sometime. But like the hermit's all about like keeping things around. You know what I mean? And my wife, she laughs at me all the time about this, because like I'll find a use for something I bought 15 years ago that's been in a closet in a box, and she goes, "Oh my gosh," but I don't really need all that stuff around. But I think that there's something about the hermit part of me that feels safer when I'm around my stuff. And that has a lot to do with holding on and letting go, that not getting those childhood developmental needs met when I was 2 years old. And so that's a big part of me, this hermit like retreat into my cave type thing. Like this room is like my room. You know what I mean? I gotta have, wherever I live, I gotta have my room. I gotta have my space that I feel safe in. And I think that that can be good. The issue that I have with it is like if I'm in my life, I dealt with it before I had family, but a lot of the times the hermits would just retreat from their families, just retreat, pull back. I think that the way that my mother did this is she would just escape. She'd just leave, which is like the opposite of a hermit. But we were all there at the house, and so she'd just leave for a week, leave for a couple of days, so that she could find her own space because there wasn't much space at the house at all when I was growing up. And so that's been really interesting to me to think about, like, that's still, I still see the trappings of that in my life. This hermit, like pull back into my own area thing. And then you've got borderline queen, hermit, waif, and then you've got, man, why can't I remember these things? Queen, hermit, waif, and then there's another really, really big part of it, which is the witch. And so that's a switch, man. Like, I am so grateful that this part of this particular disorder really didn't affect me personally often. Like, I had started working on my mental health when I was like around 18 years old. And the witch part of it is like the diabolical nature of this, where somebody can literally in a moment switch into this persona that is shocking and do things that you never imagined that a person could do. You know, a lot of the times with this, my mother with this is she'd be loving and kind, and then bam, she's in this like totally different persona that I'm experiencing. And so I never knew what was safe. I never knew what I was going to get. I never knew what I was going to be able to be okay with and have. Like, it's very, very strange not knowing where solid ground is. But my mother would have that switch, man. She'd have that switch that she could turn, and in a moment's notice, she would become a completely different person. And she'd become violent, and she'd become vengeful, and she'd become rage-filled. And in my life, I certainly have had the rage and the anger and those things, but I've never physically acted on it. That's the difference maker. I've never brought harm to another person. Because ever since I was young, I made a vow that I'm not going to be this person. I'm not going to be the aggressor. I'm going to find a way to be a good person. I'm going to find a way to be responsible and to be an adult and to not take out my internal rage on people. Like, that was my pursuit. Like, just find a way to survive and eventually be able to thrive and have a family someday. That's what I always wanted. And so when you combine all these different things, that's where you get the Median borderline. A lot of the times human beings will just have one of these, like max, one, maybe two. In my case, my mother had all of them, and the Median borderline is capable of tremendously wicked things. You know, like just the things that I've already detailed across the course of my videos, you know, beating people with fire pokers, throwing people against the walls, you know, screaming at people. And I am sad that all of that stuff happened to me. Like, when I look back on it and I cycle through those memories like I'm doing now, I can go back through any of those memories as a kid. And I've cleaned that memory up, meaning I've changed the meaning of it to me. And now those memories mean my mother didn't get the help that she needed to be able to love me in the way I needed to be loved. Now, I could hate her, I could do all these different things, but I don't. Listen to my message. I really don't. I've made peace with my parents. I love my parents now. I accept my parents' limitations and where they're at. I wish things would be much different and I could be as open as humanly possible with them and connect to them. It'd be amazing. But I'm going to take them where they're at. And I'm not going to be controlling. I'm not going to be manipulative. I'm not going to force them to be something that they can't be. That's a lot of this journey, is like discovering precisely how other people are where they're at and accepting them where they're at, not trying to change it, not trying to challenge them, not trying to control them. All of that is tremendously important because ultimately the only person that I have any semblance of control whatsoever over is me. I am the only person that I have any semblance whatsoever of control over, and most of the time I'm terrible at it. And so I have created boundary systems and structures in my life to protect myself from destructive tendencies, destructive behaviors. And as I've worked through these personality disorders, particularly with borderline, this borderline personality disorder, there was a book that tremendously helped me. It was like, I felt like somebody was taking a film camera and going through my household as a kid and filming it for documentary purposes and then putting it into a book. It's called Understanding the Borderline Mother. If you feel like you have any of these types of situations in your life and you want to gain wisdom and figure out how do I handle that, that book is tremendous. It will serve you infinitely. Pay whatever price you can pay for it. Usually it's tough to find them used because people just hold on to them forever. I think I got like 2 copies or something like that because they let one out and then never got it back. And then years later, somebody gave it to me. But as far as the borderline reality goes, for me, what I had to do was expose that part of myself in community. I had to be willing to humble myself and talk about, guys, I just don't want to be around anybody right now. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this, and I'm doing it anyway. I can't tell you how many times I said that. I mean, if you've been watching my videos, you've even heard it in my videos. I don't want to make this video. I really don't. I want to run and I want to hide, but I'm going to make it anyway. See, that's a borderline hermit coming out of me. I want to retreat into my cave. I want to retreat into myself and into my mind through distraction and entertainment and all these other things. And ultimately, what I'm choosing is a slow death over life. Like being a hermit and pulling back, that doesn't give you any life. That doesn't make you move forward. That makes you stagnant. And I don't want to be that person. I want to ever be in the pursuit of being me. Of all of these things that have happened to me, I'm sharing these things because they're no longer me. Like that's the thing that's incredible is like I have been running and chasing after me and who I am and who I've been made to be my whole life, like since I was 20 years old. Since I got out of my parents' house and I decided I don't want to be this person that I am. And I'm proud to tell you that, in particular, borderline personality disorder is something that is, I guess the best way to say it is no longer leading and controlling my life. I'll see it pop up from time to time and identify it and go, I need to do this to deal with it. And I'll connect to myself and try to understand what's going on here? Why am I engaging in this? And it can be exceptional in that way. But I would say a good 90+% of my life, this doesn't exist anymore. Ultimately, I truly believe all these different personality disorders and all these different things in my life, what they really are about is coping strategies to prevent me from dealing with memories, prevent me from being able to go back into my mind and subconscious mind and see what else happened. I think that they're all protection strategies. All personality disorders are protection strategies that are trying to disable me from identifying and connecting to what happened to me so that then I don't experience that pain. You know, I had this therapist who was incredible. He spent about $50,000 on therapy over the course of my life. I asked my therapist for an exact number, so I might be over-exaggerating. It might be like 35, 40, but it's somewhere in there. And I asked him for an exact number so I can do a video on it. And throughout doing work with him, what I discovered was that all of these personality disorders, what they really are cover-ups in poses for covering up wounds. If you can get down to the wounds and the root cause and understand what memories in your life and what phrases are controlling your life on a subconscious level, you can generate freedom. I don't deal with borderline personality disorder anymore in my life other than brief trappings of it, where I go, oh, I feel like not talking to people for 3 months. What's going on there? Let me find somebody to connect to so I can process this. That's about as far as it goes these days. It used to be isolate for 3 months, 6 months, a year, never talk to anybody, pull back, right? That's what it used to be. And anyone that's known me a long time, unfortunately, has dealt with that with me in their life. And I'm embarrassed to admit that, but that's the truth. Whereas now it's like I have the systems in place to be able to identify and then work through the particular challenge that's bringing up this old operating software. You see, that's the other part of personality disorders is they're really ingrained operating software that this is the way the world is, this is how you respond. And changing that software has been the pursuit of my life. It's like, how do I change my response? And ultimately, what I've found is the transformational change in response simply comes down to the relationships you're in your life that you can share with and connect with, and in your true authentic self you can share with, so that you don't have to operate in old operating systems. So you can install new data, new information, new wisdom. Wait, I am not a worthless piece of trash. I'm valued. And this person enjoys spending time with me. Like for me, that was like a shock to the system. Like, whoa, oh my goodness, this is a thing? Like legitimately, that's how I felt. Wow. People actually care about me and want to spend time with me. I remember another big one was when my wife, she said to me, hey, what are we doing here? We've been dating for a while. She was my girlfriend at the time. And I hadn't done therapy in years at that point because I'd just been working through stuff on my own in community. And I remember she said, hey, I want to, you know, where are we going? Are we going to get married? What's going on? And I immediately booked a therapy session because I was so shocked that somebody would want to marry me. I was like astonished. And mind you, I'm like 35 at this point. This is like, I don't know, 2017-ish, 2018-ish, somewhere in there. I was like shocked. And I said, dude, I don't know what to do. This woman is in love with me. And he said to me, well, if you love her and you don't want to marry her, what should you do? And immediately I went into logic brain. No empathy, no emotions. Boom. I said, well, I should break up with her immediately. She's in this age range that she's going to take 12 to 18 months for her to heal from the breakup, which will then give her the optimal time to be able to have children, which is a big goal on her heart. She wants to have kids. And so I should break up with her immediately as soon as I get out of here. Or I should choose to marry her. And I mean, that's how cut and dry my mindset at that time had developed to, because I wanted to do right by her because I truly loved her as a person, everything about her. She's my companion in life. We got married. We're building a family. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But in that moment, I just didn't know what to do, and I didn't want my life to get hijacked by the old operating system. I think that's really key, is that you have to be willing to humble yourself and identify when you need help. It's a big problem with people with personality disorders and all this different stuff. They can't identify those things because ultimately what they're looking for is power and control instead of humility and developing understanding through community. And so I said, I'm going to marry her. Right there, boom, I knew it. Right there in that moment, I knew it. I'm going to marry this woman. We're going to build a family together. And man, have I been blessed. I've been blessed in beyond anything I can imagine, that somebody would love me and cherish me and want to be with me. With all my faults and all my foibles, every day is a new adventure with her. It's incredible. And this can happen to you in your life too. Like, it's worth the work. If there's anything that I would say about this, is that it's worth the work. And putting in the work is awful and hard and difficult. And a lot of the times you don't want to do it. I don't want to show up. I don't want to be honest. I don't. But if you just do it anyway on a long enough timeline, you wake up and look at your life and go, How did I get here? I am so blessed. How did this happen? Well, it happens when you're willing to humble yourself and change and be transformed. Pursue it. You will find the answers you're looking for.